has essentially come down to is 3 key points. Firstly, are firms responsible for the mental health issues of their junior lawyers? Secondly, what is actually best for the junior lawyer that is suffering mental health issues? And thirdly, what is best for these legal firms? So on to this idea of are the firms responsible? And the opposition would like you to believe that the individual is completely and wholly responsible because they want to succeed and they're driven and they choose to work these extreme hours. But ladies and gentlemen, yes, they may want to succeed, yes, they may be driven, but they don't choose to work these extreme hours because they totally love being at work for 24 hours a day. No, thank you. They work these hours because they feel like this is the way that they can succeed and this is the way to move forward in their firm because that is what the firm's culture tells them. The firm tells them, no thank you, if you want to succeed and if you want to do well in our firm and if you want to become a senior partner, you must work the hours, you must be here at 7, you must stay until 11 and that is the only way for you to succeed. So the firms do have some responsibility in mental health issues that result, that are related to work stress because they create the culture that tells the employees that this is what they need to do to succeed in the law firm. Yes?
The fact that I work at a cafe in Victoria Point makes me want to kill myself every day. Would you hold that cafe responsible for my mental safety?
Well, as we said, firstly, if there is a nexus between the work and the mental health issue, Jess said that we think it is analogous with other harms that come from the workforce. But we've also said that even if you do not accept that, law firms are fundamentally different. They're fundamentally different because they create a culture that says, you must work this way or you will not succeed. You must work this way or you will get fired. We also said that they're fundamentally different because the harms to the clients are so extreme. When you have a person that is suffering a mental health issue and are not doing anything about it, this does affect their work, this does affect their clients, and as we heard from Jess, this is particularly problematic because of the kinds of issues that are coming up in law firms, because the clients, because these are to do with very important issues to the clients, no thank you, and the lawyer's actions can have drastic consequences. So it's because the firms create this culture, it is because they have the control that does not allow junior lawyers to say, no, I don't want to work 24 hours a day, and it's because of the extreme effect on their clients that the firms do have a responsibility to pay the legal fees of their junior counsels. No, thank you. So on to the second idea of what is best for the employee. And the negative team want to stand up here today and say no, not getting access to mental health care is not best for the employees because they won't get employed and they should just have to stay suffering their mental illness. But what we have told you is that this actually reduces the stigma by saying that it is okay, that you can get the help. It reduces the stigma associated with mental illness. It allows people, no thank you, to come forward and to get the help that they need. And it says that it is okay to do so. But it's on to the second idea of, is it going to prevent employment? And what we heard from our team is that we don't accept that this will in fact prevent employment. And this is for several reasons. Firstly, as we heard from Jess, these law firms have a culture where they need the employees because they have this work and they're going to hire these employees anyway. But even if, what we say is that people are not necessarily going to disclose their predisposition to mental illness in an interview, and we don't accept that they have to, and that there is a way for the law firm to find out anyway. No, thank you. But on to this idea, we don't even accept that there is a way to say, hey law firm, future employer, I have a predisposition to mental illness. What we have said is that this is for people who suffer a mental illness as a result of their work. Therefore, they're not necessarily suffering suffering a mental illness before they get hired. They don't necessarily know that they have a predisposition to a mental illness until they get into that law firm, until they get into that culture, until those senior partners pressure them to work to the absolute extreme. It is then that they develop the mental illness. It is then that they realise that they are suffering.
Yeah.
Sure.
Look, as you say, if people are being forced to work these sort of hours by these senior partners under these firm cultures, why don't they just get a job somewhere else?
Well, we would say that this is the culture of all law firms, and that is what we have said from the beginning. I don't think that a culture should force every person to completely change their professions. The culture itself should have to change. It should have to change so that these problems are not occurring. So on to this idea of what is best for the law firms. And what we have said, and what Helena tried to tell you, is that the best way to solve these problems is to develop strategies to solve mental health issues. But ladies and gentlemen, the law firms will not do this until they have an incentive to do so. And this is what we heard from Mike. It is not until law firms are told that they will have to pay for the counselling bills of their junior partners unless they do something about the fact that 40% of the legal profession are suffering a mental health issue, when these numbers are drastically higher than every other profession, including the medical profession, which is stressful but do not have these levels of mental health problems. This is what will encourage law firms to actually do something about it. Because the negative team wants you to believe that they're not going to send people off to counselling, but then they totally will because they don't want to pay the money, but then they'll just set up strategies so they don't have to. Ladies and gentlemen, the strategies won't be set up until they are forced to take responsibility for the actions that they have caused. These law firms need to change the culture to prevent mental illness, and the only way that this can be achieved is when they take responsibility, and when we say you must pay the counselling bills, for your junior partners because you are the ones that have created the culture that have caused this problem.